Hey there, it's Bernardo, and it's January, and this month has been crazy. We have a lot to think and a lot to talk. So, at the end of last year, I was a little bit tired. I was, juggling a job, YouTube videos, some other things happening at my life. I'm changing jobs soon, so a lot was happening, and I was stressed out, and I took some time off, and I also took some time off from YouTube. Right, I recorded a few videos right before going to Brazil to visit friends and family, and I scheduled them so I had some content going on. And my plan was I'm coming back in the end of December, and I'm going to start recording videos again. That didn't happen. I went for I decided to take more time off and relax a little bit, and then I decided, okay, January, I'm gonna start recording some videos. And I did. I recorded the tier list video. And the next video that I was going to record was going to be a high level overview, like a presentation on kind of like how to navigate this ever changing AI landscape for either, people that are starting to code or starting to use AI to build software, and even for seasoned engineers that wanted to, evolve their workflow. So just a high level thing, helping them navigate what tools to use, what are the trends in the industry, what they need to know, the workflows, how people are programming. And I started doing this video. I started like even vibe coding a presentation. And I realized a lot has changed in these 2 months. And especially January, there has been some really good like posts coming out of like top leaders in this AI frontier. And I started watching some, Geoffrey Huntley, sorry if I mispronounced the name, videos about the Roth loop. Everybody's looking at that. And a friend of mine was like, hey, can you do a video about Gastown? And then I started looking at those things, and I realized I was being left behind. Like there was a lot happening and changing, and because of the evolution of the models and other things that kind of like compounded, things were moving really fast. And I think, December, January was kind of like another inflection point in the evolution. And I decided I cannot do this video. I cannot give you a video that is outdated already. I'm pretty sure that almost all the videos that I'm going to release, they're going to be outdated in like 3-4 months at most, right? Because things are moving so fast. When you think about, like, I think I started using GitHub Copilot, like the code completions, in 2023 or maybe 2022. But this is ancient technology by today's standards. So I decided to do a slightly different video, which is going to be this one. I'm still going to record the other video. It's going to be shorter likely, but this video is going to be more reflecting on these changes and where the industry is heading, and thinking together so we learn a little bit. And then I'm going to also use this opportunity to show how my workflow was up until this point. I have a project that I'm doing. I stopped so I can record myself doing some of this project to give you some hint of where I am right now in the Steve Yegge's levels of AI assisted programming. We're going to talk about that. So I'm going to give you this overview of where I am in this AI assisted journey, how I'm using AI to do software engineering. And we're going to take a look at some of the new stuff. So this is not a well-structured video. It's not going to be a presentation like the next one. Please subscribe if you want to see that other one. But it's going to be more of a conversation and just thinking, reading some materials, and putting my thoughts out there. All right, so let's take a look at the post that I was talking about and the stuff that I start reading and the rabbit hole that I start going into that led me to this realization that I need to update the way I think and the tools that I use. So it all started when I started seeing everybody talking about the Roth loop. You probably saw that on Twitter or whatever, X, whatever. You probably saw that in other places. Everybody's talking about it. There is a plugin for Cloud Code called Roth loop, whatever. Most of those stuff is not the actual thing. So I started digging, who coined this term, what it means, and I likely get a lot of this wrong. I'm still in this learning process. So likely what I'm saying right now is going to be a little bit weird. So I just recommend you looking and seeing the videos from, Geoffrey Huntley. The videos are, of course, such a great vibe. Like sometimes they're like music, and like I don't know, it's just something else. It's an experience. It's one of the most entertaining videos that also contains a lot of great insight. So here's my take on the idea of Ralph loops, and again, probably wrong, but the point is that now the models are getting so smart, right, that you can just keep throwing work at them, and they're doing the code. So now instead of thinking of what happens like during like if you think about like the industry, right? Like they're like PMs and they think about the features and then they go out in the world. I don't know, they talk to customers, they read analytics, and they go ahead and they prepare some ideas, some hypotheses. There's a developer, you go there, implement some features. All of these humans are in this loop of like product making, right? Like people deploying software, people doing a bunch of other things, right? And there is a like when I did computer engineering, there was a lot of lectures that were not about coding, and a lot of my teachers were like, "Hey, computer engineering is not about coding, right? It is about some of them were thinking about organizational structure, how to organize knowledge systems, how people communicate, and how software is built, right? Like the software engineering is about building the software, right? It's not about the code that the software is composed of. So it's humans. If you go into the DDD world, you're gonna see things like bounded contexts are not just a lot of people think, oh, bounded context, this is like your microservice because you have published language, open host kind of like context mapping, and then this is just an API. But I always said like the bounded context a lot of times are people. Like there are stuff that like the system, they're like this person, right? Like it's part of the way the company operates is this one person running some Excel stuff or some whatever. So my point is like the systems and the products, they are more than just the code, right? And we have a lot of humans in this loop, in the building and then running of these products. And with the models getting smarter, now we have to focus less on the stuff that happens inside of the loop, but more of how this loop is executed. Again, I might getting like off a tangent here, but the point is, instead of thinking about how do I make this code better, think about how to create a system that bad code can happen less often, right? A lot of times, for example, in teams that I've led and stuff like that, I always said that I don't care too much about what are your code style guide if you cannot enforce them with a linter, right? And I always say, hey, if you really think code should be one way, make it so it is enforceable somehow. So make a rule and then have a linter. Now with AI, maybe that thing is you can enforce less defined rules, maybe running an AI, whatever. But the point is you have to make the tool such that the way to validate the work, the way the work is done, is engineered out of your way, right? Like, oh, how do you solve a lot of the problems? It's not about, oh, I have this crazy continuous deployment. Maybe it's just about, what the process looks like. I remember in one of my teams, I changed the work in progress limit to be smaller than the number of people in the team, and that actually increased our throughput. So I, as a team lead, was engineering the loop, but the stuff inside of the loop were other humans. And now I think everybody is going to have to start thinking with that, but instead of humans we have agents. We're still going to have humans jumping in the loop sometimes. When there were some problems and maybe the team was having a discussion, I would jump in and discuss with them how to solve something, or there's a security issue. So sometimes I, as a team lead, would jump into the loop, right? So again, this whole summary is that we start moving to these thinking of how the whole things are connected. Okay, I'm not gonna go inside of the raw loop because this is, I think this is a too open-ended stuff, but I want to talk about where this led me. So I saw this picture here, and this thing is struck with me. Like, I play a lot of games. I play a lot of RPG. I'm more of like a competitive kind of thing. I play Counter-Strike, and now I'm playing Rocket League a lot. But I like games, and I like the idea of like leveling, right? Like how do I know if I'm doing good in Rocket League is because I'm, now diamond to champ. So this is the way that I think. So I like to have a benchmark that I can benchmark myself against. And then I saw this, and they were talking about these levels, and the Rolf loop thing. They say it's at level 9, whatever. It doesn't matter that much. But I started looking at this thing, and then I realized this name was something that I've read right before going away on holidays, right? So Steve Yegge, again, sorry if I mispronounced the name, and I started looking at the posts. I'm gonna link all these posts in the comments so you can read. And funny enough, this was the same person that wrote the guest down, and I had a conversation right, like about the same time with a friend of mine in LinkedIn. I was checking in on him, like, oh, I'm seeing your videos. You should do a video on guest down. And it also created Beads, and we're gonna take a look at these tools. But pretty much Beads is a agent-friendly issue tracker that is also Git tracked. I might be misrepresenting. I'm gonna start looking at that. And this resonated with me because I've been using a lot of like Openspec. I really like Openspec because I treat it not only as a way to specify the code and have like a simple format, but I treat it as a issue tracker in a way, right? And then I can build a ref loop that I just keep creating these proposals, and then I have this thing that is always running and taking the next stuff. It's challenging because you don't have clearly what are the dependencies between the changes. I'm gonna show you my workflow with Openspec and how I'm using this with Conductor. But yeah, I started looking at this thing, and by the way, really great posts. This is just an introduction to Gastown, which we also gonna take a look at Gastown soon. But one thing struck with me. I had this conversation a friend of mine approached me and said, hey, I have this, he founded a company, and he was thinking that the engineers were a little bit afraid of using AI, and they're like, oh, I'm seeing your videos on AI. Do you want to come and talk with a team about AI? So I had this really amazing conversation with everyone. Actually, they were doing a lot more AI than probably people were thinking, at least compared to other peers that I talked to. And it was hard to me to help them understand, again, a benchmark. And so this thing kind of like illustrates the journey of AI assisted coding. Oh, by the way, I didn't realize that it was using the exact same wording I was using. Okay, so yeah, so this gives you like 8 levels of 8 stages of AI assisted, and this is interesting because this has been a journey for a lot of people, because I think it was also a journey of how the industry evolved, right? So in stage 1 is like you are pretty much not using AI, like your agents at least. You maybe have like Copilot, like auto completion. This is kind of like 2022, 2023, when GitHub Copilot launched, but this has a lot, started showing the potential, right? Then stage 2 is when you started bringing your agent into the IDE. You still would ask some questions or throw some tasks, but then you would be, you were afraid, right? The early days of Cursor, right? Cursor would suggest something, you would like, oh yes, do that, do not do that, or whatever. Then you start getting more comfortable and start like enabling YOLO mode. This is like stage 3. And in this stage 3, you do that, but you're still looking at everything it does, right? Like you're keeping an eye on it, and yeah. So you just allow them to do either a bunch of stuff or some of the stuff. Then I honestly don't see a lot of difference between stage 3 and 4, other than actually an interesting thing that I also realized, that as I got more comfortable with this agent stuff, the agent would get more of my screen, and instead of being a sidebar, like it would move away from the sidebar. I think playing around with warp, or again CLIs later, but I realized that I was mostly interested in seeing the history of what the agent was doing rather than necessarily looking at the code. I can do the code review in the end, but the point is just get wider, right? Like, because now, yeah, again, code is just for the diffs. You just want to see when you're reviewing. Then the next stage, and this is where, like in my tier list, I said, hey, I only gonna put CLI tools in the S tier, and the reason for that is because I also believe that I still use code editors. But now I realize that I can jump between like VS Code or Cursor and NeoVim and Z. I sometimes, depends on what I'm doing, and open a different one because it doesn't matter that much anymore. I'm going back to NeoVim just because I think it makes it easy for me to just have the terminal and I have Cloud Code running and then or Open Code running, and then I just go and change the NeoVim when I want to review stuff, open LazyGit, whatever. So point is, the IDE starts mattering so much less that now you are okay to just move to the terminal. And then when you do that, you realize that you can also have multi-agent. And by the way, I don't think it needs to be CLI necessarily. I think just the CLI emphasizes that. Now you have CLIs and you can have tabs that are like, oh, I can run multiple stuff in parallel. There are some GUIs like Conductor. Conductor kind of have that, but you have like the tabs here, and then you have all these workspaces. And again, the main stuff here is the agent. I'm sorry. So the main stuff here is the agent. I'm going to talk about my current setup soon, and then you start like doing all these different agents running, and then you need a way to coordinate them. And I think that's where tools like Warp, Verdant, and Conductor, they are trying to help somewhere between figure 6 and 7, right? Which are, okay, you start having more agents, you start to become hard for you to keep track of what they're doing, knowing when they need your attention, jumping between things. I think I am here, somewhere between stage 6 and 7. I don't think I ever do like 10 agents. Like Conductor, I think I have a limit on 5. But sometimes I have Conductor and then I have some other agents running in the terminal. So maybe I do like 6 sometimes, but most of the times I would say I'm more like stage 6, all right? But again, hand managed, but maybe that's where I'm not like that. I try to have tools to help me manage, and I'm gonna show you my workflow. So yeah, so what I want to do in this video is I'm gonna show where I am here, which is somewhere between 6 and 7. And I wanna think how I'm gonna get to level 8 or, rough loop level 9 kind of thing. I don't think, again, this stuff are not well defined. But yeah, so I think I'm stage 6 and very brave. So that's why I think I should be able to see and use, to use Gastown and see value on that. So we're gonna stop now, and I'm gonna show you my workflow on how I managed and how I manage multiple agents in a project, right? And so yeah, so let's jump into that. By the way, again, gonna link all these posts in the comments so you can read them. This is really great stuff. Thanks. Again, names Steve Yegge. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce, and Geoffrey for you're helping me to think about these things a lot. So thank you for all the stuff that you've been doing. So yeah, let's jump into that. So okay, so I want to go through my current workflow and the tools that I use on a daily basis. And it is composed of like 3, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 components, but the main 3 parts, all right? So first is an agent. And then I jump between Cloud Code and Open Code. I sometimes open Codex, but I think for GPT 5.2, I'm liking using it in Open Code. So it's been a while since I opened Codex. So yeah, I'm normally between Open Code and Cloud Code. I do use Open Code when I'm using GPT or GLM 4.7. I do also use Cloud Code with GLM 4.7 because I'm currently I changed the environments, whatever, because currently I cannot afford the max. YouTube's still not paying the bill. And I have a yearly like plan that I purchased from ZAI, and yeah, so I sometimes when I hit my 5-hour limit, and I'm in the middle of like a Claude code session, and I can't even do compact or summarize, which like a way to move from another thing. There's likely some tools out there that take the history, and I can probably just send the file, but whatever. What I do is normally just go on Cloud Code and I switch the thing. But yeah, if I had like just a simple, and I use this guy here, CC Switch. I use this to manage my MCP servers, which currently I just use these, and I'm looking for a better browser thing, and I might use Tidewave in some of my projects. But yeah, I use this to manage my MCP servers across most of my. And now that I use Codex and Gemini less, I wish this also would manage the OpenCode MCP servers, but I don't use too much MCP. But yeah, so I use this to change between the default one and GLM when I run out of my, I hit my daily limit, but I plan on upgrading to max. So yeah, first thing, of course, is an agent. Then I need a way to plan the test. Sometimes when I know exactly what I'm doing is something small and I'm already like in the IDE, I might just spawn the agent directly and do like a small, like, kind of like, if we go back to the levels, more of a level, more of like a level 4 kind of thing, level 4 or 5 kind of thing. I do that sometimes. But to manage the bulk of the work that I'm running in parallel, I use Openspec. So normally I have 1 or 2 OpenCode or Cloud Code sessions where I am using the Openspec propose command. So Openspec is pretty much like, there's this new workflow, but I'm still using the old one. But pretty much there's these 3 phases. So you have the propose, the apply, and the archive. So the propose is where you say, hey, this is what I want to do, and then it creates the test. I'm going to show you a little bit of that. And then I normally, so this is normally like I just open in a terminal and I talk with it, like normally on my main branch. And then I use Conductor to delegate the implementation to run the Openspec apply in parallel in different branches, right? Because I want to do them in parallel, so I want to run them in work trees, and I want them to, So first I propose in Openspec, have them committed to main. Then I use this that forks main, create a new workspace, and then I just do Openspec apply. I'm going to show you all of that. So these are the main stuff that I'm using. So again, how do I use? Well, first, so I might have stuff running in the background already, but I have here my main workflow, where is the workflow for me, the human, right? Which is the repository here. So this is the stuff that I'm building right now is a monolith starter. I also built this tool here. So one of the features that I really like about about Conductor is how they assign different parts to different work trees. I wanted to have that, but also out of Conductor, especially if I'm moving towards Gastown, where these things are going to run in parallel. So yeah, I wanted to take the port feature, and I found like a CLI that wasn't exactly what I wanted, this port selector thing, and then I just used a new session to create this. This I didn't haven't done any Openspec, was because I knew it was a really simple CLI. But I released this. You can install if you want. But yeah, so I have this installed, and then I'm building this project here. I want to have like a starter point, and of like I want to have like a starter for building, like a SaaS kind of starter. There are some out there, but I want some with my engineering ideas, right? How I like the code and the stuff to be structured and to play nicely with work trees and whatnot. So I'm going to show you a little bit how normally it is and a little bit of this project, right? So a lot of times I'm in either like NeoVim or just running a, OpenCode here, or, Claude here. So I run either Claude here, OpenCode here, and I also sometimes run Claude here inside of NeoVim. So for example, it might be in README, and then I do this, and I open like this side panel for Cloud Code. But yeah, sorry. Okay, so this project here, I come here and then I do Openspec proposal, and then I propose something. Let me think about something to propose. Actually, before proposing stuff, let me just show you the stuff that I proposed already. So I can do Openspec view. So Openspec view, I'm gonna show you all the proposals. So this is the stuff that I want to use. I want to have Shed CN UI. I want to use Jod to parse the configs. I want to have use Prisma transactional testing in this library, so it runs against a real database instead of mocking the database, and runs in a transaction, so we can run tests in parallel. Again, it's really important to have tests and stuff to verify. And yeah, so let's propose something crazier here. Let's just say we want to add. Let's do, again, I normally do that directly in my main branch. Let me just do, what have I changed? Oh yeah, I changed this. Sorry. UBI backend is deprecated in this, whatever, doesn't matter that much. Yeah, let me just do git push here. So I have so I'm normally running, again, I'm pushing to main on this. Then I come here, Openspec proposal, and I do something. Let's use playwright and playwright BDD. I'm not even sure that this is something that I want to play around with for end-to-end tests. I'm going to send some links. So I'm going to use playwright.dev and playwright BDD. Again, I'm not even sure if this is something I want. Just want to. So I'm going to do this, and I come here and I do this. Actually, I really want to do this thing in, let's do Opus here, model Opus. Yes, it's fine. And I want to say search context 7 for more info if needed. The goal here is to just have an example feature test with BDD, and we also gonna need to update agents and need to have updated agents and so agents also implement update the BDD specs for end-to-end tests, whatever, something like that. If you need any more questions, interview me. So the idea is that yeah. So I send this. Oh, unknown SKU. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Because it's not. Sorry. Resume. Because sorry, this is a different open. Oh wait. Let me just copy this. It's a different thing here. It's Openspec proposal. Okay, so yeah, so I send this again. Opus, this should be fine. Let me just close open code. I've been liking GPT 5.2, by the way. So yeah, so okay. So Openspec just goes and going to take a look at these specs and whatever. So yeah, so this is gonna write down some specs and then I'm gonna review. I'm not gonna review them too much here. Yes, context 7. Yes, and then ask again. By the way, let's change to accept edits. Let's go like that. Yeah, then ask again for context 7. So yeah, you're gonna ask me some questions. So this is how I specify stuff. So I don't write the specs. I don't even care. But I think E2E might be a good thing to separate. Come on, just Chromium. Yes. Yes. Let's run them on CI. Yeah, I think just a simple smoke test should be fine. Because I don't want to, again, this is just a starter. Okay, so I submit that, and this is going to, okay, so this is going to create a proposal, and then I allow it to do it, and then let's just allow edit, because normally the way I go is that I come here, and then I use lazy git to see the stuff. By the way, I should commit that. I've been using. Okay, so yeah, now it's gonna write this proposal. and we're going to take a look at that. Okay, so the thing ran, created the stuff, is going to ask now to validate the proposal. So a nice thing about Openspec that it has a kind of like a minimal validation on how the spec should look like. But if you look at the things that were created, you can see this thing here. So let's just go here, Openspec. So the beautiful thing is that, and this is why the reason why I don't like, spec-driven development, like spec kit and whatnot, is that they try to be, too waterfall, right? Like you define the whole thing and then you ask it to do something. And then if you have to change something, it's kind of like a pain to go back and, edit the specs and ask it to implement. So again, I don't think this is perfect, but Openspec tries to has this idea of changes, right? Which is this unit of work that needs to be executed, right? So yeah. So, okay, by the way, so you look at these changes, and then this is the thing that needs to be executed. There was some stuff in the archive, but then I edited the specs after the fact. I probably broke some of the Openspec rules. But yeah, but the idea that the specs later also serve as the base for, agents to understand the current state of the system. And I think this is an interesting thing. This might be a problem because I like the problem with documentation of architecture stuff and whatnot. You can easily get into this drift where the spec is outdated. But theoretically, a lot of the changes are the stuff that changes that. So I don't know. I haven't used that long enough to see if, this just became a context bloat that is outdated and actually make things worse. So I haven't been using this long enough. If you've been using Openspec for a bigger project for too long, let me know how well this performs at later stages. I haven't reached that thing yet, but for the initial stages of a project, I think it helps a lot. But yeah, okay, so we created this thing here. So let's do playwright BDD. And then this is what I like, that it creates these different things, right? So there's the proposal, which is the high-level view of what this thing is. So I just take a look, okay, lacks end-to-end testing capability, and playwright BDD enable behavior-driven end-to-end tests in Gherkin syntax-based tests readable by non-technical stakeholders. I mean, honestly, the reason why I want to test playwright BDD is because I think might help me review the end-to-end test, because there is this so this is my doubt, because I have these two levels of abstraction. I have the the feature, which is kind of like jerking. It was the jerking syntax, and then I have the action. The action. I forgot the name. The steps. The step implementations, which sometimes have like a page model as a third level of abstraction. The benefit is that I can review higher levels. If there are no new steps, likely I can review what changed more easily. But this become a problem in a lot of companies, because now you have all these three layers of abstractions and might become bloated. I don't know. I just want to give it a try. If nothing works, I'm going to ask AI to flatten everything into just plain playwright end-to-end tests. So this is my hypothesis on one test in this project. Okay, playwright and playwright BDD, create TUE, playwright config, npm scripts. Okay. Update COI workflow, update agents. So this is kind of like the high level thing. So yeah. So here's where, I think this is the moment to catch some stuff that might be missing. Okay, steps, features. So this is where normally I come here, take a look at where these things are. So I come here and I say, okay, how this thing is actually supposed to work. So there's a getting started here. Yeah, right, of course, BDD test, run tests, and then there's this thing, features gen. So this likely I want to have this git ignored. So I want to see if it added this feature gen thing. So I'm just gonna do features gen. Nice, so it catches that. So okay, so this is kind of like high level to do the task that needs to be done. Oh, it was right here. Yeah, so I want that to be git ignored. All right, this seems good enough. And again, I don't want to go crazy. So, but one thing that I wanted to do is to have this, and this is something, by the way, that maybe should be, I don't know how to better bake that into Openspec, is that I sometimes this creates, like, for example, I want to do config and I want all process env to be there, and sometimes it goes and lists all the environment variables, but this is a spec that is likely would become outdated. So I try to make sure that these specs are not like outdated, right? So I want to see if the smoke test, yeah, okay. So it didn't add it, so this is a good thing. I didn't want to have like, oh, there should be a smoke test in the thing, right? So this should be just in the task here. Oh, yeah, likely in the design here, there's a step definition in types. Okay, so these are another interesting thing, like what are the decisions that were made. So this is kind of like a architecture decision record, which I think is interesting. Okay. Yeah, I just want to. Yeah, I think this should be good enough for now. So after I've done that, and I just come here and then I run lazy git, add everything, and I just say Openspec proposal end-to-end BDD style tests with playwright. Okay, so I just commit that and then I push, and then so this might be happening while some other proposals are being implemented in PR by my parallel agents. And how I run parallel agents, I run them here, right? So the way that I do is that I set up, and I'm going to show you, I set up some, so in repo settings, so there's this workspace setup, and I really like Mies. I used it to install binaries. I installed the portpls stuff that I created. I installed some other stuff. So, and also manage so I have this Mies Tomo configuration. So I don't know why I'm on Node 22. I like they should bump that, but whatever. So I made this interesting setup where I have two descriptions of environment variables using Mies. So first I load, and I need to do this thing because I need to repeat the underscore file 2 times. But so pretty much I set up some defaults and then I load from this file. So this file might or might not exist. I think right now I do have it. You see it's set like this, and I'm going to show you how I generate this. So this is optional. So I have some default ports, and then I use interpolation to build my beautiful database URL that I pass into Prisma. Then I use another thing to load extra stuff. So this is just like if you really want to, I don't know, you want to have a completely different database URL, you want to override it. There's a way to do that. And then an important thing is that my Docker Compose, my Compose file, load the Postgres port here. And the reason is because I want to run these things in different work trees. Each one of those should have their own like database and whatnot. And they shouldn't be conflicting with each other. So I don't want to host all of them trying to open a port in 5432. And the way that I do that, again, is if I look at my config file, I have this work tree setup, and I do 3 things. So portpls setup, Docker start, and node setup, and db push. So node setup is just the npm install and npm prisma generate. I keep most of my dev things right now in npm. So I sometimes I'm using this, sometimes I'm using just npm run stuff. But the point is, if I go to my portpls setup, which is not here because it is a file task, it is a more complicated, and this is why I really like Mies. You can write these shell scripts and then they are just tests. So I use this portpls thing, which is this CLI that I've done. So I can see I have a few ports that were created here. By the way, these I don't need it anymore, so I'm just going to do, sorry, that's not what I want to do. Port, please forget name, because I don't use that. So I have these ports here, and then I can do port, please get, and then I pass a name, and it reminds. So if I pass like web2, it's going to give me just a new random port. But if I pass it again, it's going to give me the same port. And this is based on the directory. So whenever the new work tree starts, it's going to get a different port. So this is so I just do this, and I create that env ports local. And because Mies activates, I can see here that I have the database database URL is this thing here. If I remove my env ports local, run this, then it goes back to the default. And if I do mis and I do, setup, port, please. I don't know why this is. Okay, there's something weird here. Please. Okay, mis run port, please. Setup. And now if I echo database URL, that is the other thing. So this is all set up for me. So yeah, so this is how I have it set up. Again, I built these things using a lot of parallel agents as well. And the way that I run, I just click here, I start a new workspace, and I'm going to show you Docker running. So I only have, I recently changed to Docker desktop. I want to go back to something else, but yeah, this actually is cool, the UI. So I just come here and I create a new workspace. And this, is going to boot. You can see the setup script running. And you see it generates the ports. And so if I come here and do cat.env.ports or do echo database URL, you're going to see that these things are running. And if I do port please list, you're going to see that now I have this thing on this other directory. And the beautiful thing is that now I'm running this different thing that is binding on a different port. So Memphis have this DB1, and it is a different port. Oh wait, actually this is not working. Interesting. I need to improve that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come here and on the terminal, and then I'm going to do mis run docker start, and it's going to recreate, and now it's going to be in the right port. So yeah, something on the order of execution is likely wrong. Probably not picking up the stuff. I need to fix that on my script. Whatever, we're going to check that. All right, so now this is done. Then I just come here and I do open. And again, I could just do that manually. I was just trying to over optimize. Then I just come here and then I do Openspec. Why is it not loading my? Okay, this is weird. I don't know why this is. It used to work before. Let me just change to codecs and then change to open. Okay, I'm just going. Okay, this likely will work. Openspec apply, and and it's gonna ask me which thing. So it is going to work. It's just that the conductor, it used to work before. Now it shows. I don't know what is happening here. But yeah, it's gonna ask. No, that's not what I want to do. Okay. Openspec apply. Yeah, the one that I want to do. Openspec view. I want to start with something simple, which is I want to. Let's first start with the better auth. That's a complicated one. So I'm just going to copy this, and now I'm going to go more into like a crazy mode. I'm going to start a bunch of those. So this is the challenge with Openspec. It's hard to know the order of how things can be implemented. But I know that SMTP React Mailer, I need first to build the alt email password thing, because here's where I defined the email part. So what I'll do, I'll run this one here. I'll run sidetrack job queue, and I run transactional Prisma testing in parallel. Transactional Prisma testing might cause problems. So because but I would just go ahead and say, hey, fix the stuff. So let's just go ahead and do this. And worst case scenario, just try it again. But there are likely going to be conflicts here, but this is fine. Add better auth user. That's what I want to use. I should probably create a new context, doesn't matter. Okay, so I start a new one. Again, the setup script seems to be a little bit off. I need to figure out how to properly do that. And I'm just gonna come here and do Docker start to recreate it, and then I'm gonna do open. I don't know why. Yeah, okay. Hello. I'm gonna do something silly. I'm gonna say hello with haiku, and then I'm gonna say change to opus. I don't know if that's a silly idea, but yeah. So now I have all of these things running in different parts. I'm gonna close Docker desktop. I'm gonna do now Openspec. Yeah, Conductor please fix. Apply, and again, the one that I had it here, I want to add sidetrack job queue. So this is just gonna set up the sidetrack. So I'm just gonna copy this. And again, I normally I would have, hey, please verify your stuff, run tests. But yeah, I'm gonna start a new one. I think I need to start. How many I need to start? Yeah, let's just do the sidetrack job queue that is running, and the transactional Prisma testing. Yeah, let's do Zod configure right as well. Let's go. Yeah. Zod config. It doesn't even need to be perfect because I'm gonna find the thing out. Zod config, and yes, do this, and again terminal. Let's do Prisma transactional testing. It didn't rename the branch properly as it should. But yeah, so yeah, and then this is what happens. Like this already has some stuff. So I'll leave this thing working, and I'll come back later to review the stuff. So yeah, I'm not gonna show you all the details, but sometimes it requires like manual intervention, and then it does like this noise, like bling something, and then it shows me that this was stopped 5 minutes ago. Like actually, my last message was 5 minutes ago. I had to manually edit the stuff. I don't know what's happening with Conductor today. A little bit weird, behaving weird, but yeah. So you asked a few questions. Again, I'm not going to show you. I'm going to do this to tonight, and tomorrow we're gonna take a look at beats. But yeah, pretty much this is what I do. And then it's just multiple agents running in parallel. I can review things here. I show that on my video about Conductor. So this is my current workflow. Open a few sessions or NeoVim, whatever, iterate on specs, review it, have them pushed to main. Then I have to keep in my mind where the stuff that can be started and the stuff that cannot be started, which is a little bit like time consuming. And that's why it's a little bit like away from the raw loop, like the thing's not like automated. But this is my workflow, my current workflow. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep doing that. So I don't know if you heard the noise, but yeah, that was just this thing done. Did it actually run tests? Let me just see if it actually ran tests. Yeah, it ran tests. Okay, perfect. So then I come here after. So this is done. I just come here and I review the changes. Yeah, this is nice. It adds a few stuff there. Yeah. I don't know if that's actually the best approach, but I hope it is. I have to double check that. But yeah, it just mostly changed the this is what I wanted. Then I see the config, and yeah, this is good enough. Yeah, that's one I wanted to have. I mean, it doesn't need to be. This is a little bit like too much. Yeah. it's explaining a lot, but I would likely, I'm just gonna merge it. I'm not gonna waste too much time. But actually, this is good for the start because it explains what this is doing. Actually, in my actual code, I will likely will not have that. Wait, yeah, this is actually not something I want. So let me come here. Let's not do as X because that bypasses type check. I know this is because this config is required, but maybe we then delegate to a but we can have a simple, but we already have runtime check, so a simple should be enough. And we train our eyes to know that means required in the input. It's a weird way, but yeah. Yeah, I think this should be good enough. There's tests. Okay. Actually, why do we need? Okay. Actually, that's not the reason. Okay, sorry. I just realized that that's not the issue here. Okay, let me just edit that. The reason for this is because the input type here. Yeah, so this is a problem with the enum. Do we need that, or is the input type just? Just want to make a question. But yeah, then I just keep iterating on that, and then I have these things merged, and then eventually these things I will create a PR and merge them. So yeah, I'm gonna work on this this night. Let me just have some dinner, and yeah, tomorrow we're gonna take a look at beats and how I will. Yeah, so the idea is the flaw with Openspec is knowing the dependencies between tasks, which makes it harder for us to automate the loop. So I want to try beats tomorrow, which is this thing here. So it is something that runs in the, in your, it's stored in your Git repository. You have ways to store in different repositories, whatever. But this is kind of like think of like linear, but runs on the CLI and is persisted on Git. But the idea is that now I can have, connections between stuff. I can even sync to linear. So maybe if you're running like teams and you have like some, people that are not looking in the repository, or you want to have, like, I don't know, there's some interesting stuff. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to, because I'm going to be using this mostly for my side projects. I just want to try that in the CLI. So I'm going to test that tomorrow, because this is also the foundation of Guesttown. So the idea of Guesttown is that you create these beats. So you have the mayor, which is so the idea is that I will, if you think about Guesttown, the way that it works, that I have these different things and different agents. One of the agents is the mayor, which is your primary AI coordinator, which is something similar to what I run here, right? Like, it's similar to this thing here. Oh, by the way, this I should have. Yeah, whatever. So that is kind of like talking to the mayor. Oh, but yeah, whatever. By the way, I have a problem. I just reached my limit because I was running Opus in a lot of those stuff here. That's problematic. But yeah, okay. Back. Sorry. Again, as you can see, that's kind of, oh man, I really need to stop using one password for SSH keys, or maybe allow it because it's getting annoying. But yeah, so the thing is, it has the mayor, and the mayor creates is the one that you talk with, and then they create this convoys, and the convoys is just multiple beads. So point is, guest sound uses beads underneath it. Uh, so I will first learn beads and then learn guest town. And I think this again is steps on the evolution, right? And if you look at Geoffrey's Huntley video, you're gonna see he does a really great analogy. Like if you wanna get it like into construction or whatever, you're not gonna start with the power tools, right? You're first gonna learn how to use a screwdriver, maybe like a handsaw, whatever. And then when you understand the processes of building houses or whatever, then you can start using the more dangerous but more powerful and faster, power tools. Like you're not gonna build, your first furniture that you build is not gonna be using crazy machinery. So we have to experiment with these power tools, right? I'm learning these power tools. Maybe I will even build my own power tools. Like nowadays, it's really simple. Like I build portpls. It's something that I really wanted for my my setup. I found something that was almost like what I wanted, and I just kind of like copied it. So yeah, I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna keep working on this in the background, and tomorrow we're gonna start, which is gonna be right now. So I want to share what happened. So this is the next day. I had a busy day today, but yesterday my coding session was not good, was okay. And this is actually a good moment to share one of the caveats of trying to do this multi-agent parallel work. And the main issue is that a lot of the time, especially in the early days of the project, things are not well defined, like in where things should go and what should happen. And then you end up, for example, oh, there's an issue, and then you realize that all the stuff that you're doing in parallel, they all suffer from the same issue that you just found. And then each one of these parallel agents, they fix in their own way, or the places that they touch is not well defined and separated, and then we have problems. So for example, when I was trying to do the Prisma transactional testing, I realized that the template that I was working with actually didn't have a good separation from like back end and front end. So I just realized a bunch of problems, and then they just kept like dragging me down. So if I show you how my Openspec is looking right now, so I was just finishing, and this is a good thing to show how it normally goes. After Conductor finishes, I just click something to create a PR, and then it sends this prompt, and then it creates the PR, and then I can come here and review. Let me review this other thing here. I can come here and review, and I have to low. Yeah, I can come here and review, and GitHub. So this is a cool thing to work in projects with others. These are the stuff that was missing from the change, and if I come here to the terminal and do Openspec view, you can see that now this change is completed. The other ones were archived. If I do this, you can see all the stuff that I managed to finish. But yeah, it was not great, because again, I have to be do this and then do that, and then also I need to be orchestrating which job I do after the other, and then the dependencies, and then I try to scale. And I think there's two scales that are trying to achieve with agents, right? There is this. It's kind of like vertical and horizontal scaling in infrastructure, but this is like you're trying to scale the time that is. Normally you work like 8 hours, but I don't know, you code for 4 hours a day. And the beautiful thing is that maybe if the agent can do everything that you planned, you can plan for a few hours, a few minutes, and then let it run 24 hours a day. And this is kind of like the whole idea, like the Rolf loop. Like it's not necessarily, you can have multiple loops running, but a lot of times you just have one loop and do one task at a time. So this is about scaling the time. It's like a company hiring people in multiple regions, so there is no moment in the day there is no one working, right? But everybody's kind of like working alone. So this is kind of like the idea of like scaling the time. And then the other thing is scaling your units of intelligence, right? Like is you and then multiple agents. But the challenge, and the company suffers that as well, is that when you have these multiple threads going on, things starts conflicting, right? Again, I mentioned in a previous company, we actually had a bigger throughput by reducing the number of working programs. Like a lot of agilists will know that is the idea of the WIP limit. So you technically reduce the parallelization of work, but then you increase the throughput because now things are more focused. There's less conflict. It's more dedicated to this single work stream. But my point is, I think there's a challenge of trying to run multiple agents. Is this orchestration becomes really messy, right? Especially when you're doing this manually, and then the whole idea of the gas down is trying to solve this type of scale. I don't think any of these things is something I would recommend people doing like in production for their own companies. I think the slow, delegate task kind of workflows, I still think is the state of the art for like a production ready kind of thing. Like I do that in my day-to-day work. But yeah, for the side project, especially in the beginning, there's not clear definition of what should go where. It's harder to do. There's a lot of conflict. So we're going to, I'm just going to merge this. I'm not going to be taking too much. Again, I'm not focusing too much on the results right now. I'm more on like just explaining the workflow. We'll forget Conductor for now. I'm just going to close it. And yeah, okay, you can stop it. So let me just do a few things here 1 second. All right, so what we're going to do is that we're going to take a look at beads. And I already installed beads. And I'm going to do this likely in an unorthodox way. And honestly, this project, I think it became too big. It has like a lot of lines of code. Like it's crazy the size of this project. I don't even know if we can get like insights here. So in 1 week there was like okay, let's do like a month. It's a lot of like code being developed, but whatever. The point is, it is a big project and it's a little bit bloated. The surface of the CLI, which I already installed, by the way, I installed using Go install. Actually, I used Mies. If you follow my channel, I like to use Mies a lot. So if you do Mies list grep, you can see this. And I could even put like the version of beads in my Mies Tomo for this project here, which maybe I should do. But yeah, the point is I have beads running here. So I'm going to do Mies use this thing here. I'm going to fix this version here as well. 0. Maybe there's a new version already. Yeah, there's 049, whatever. So yeah, let's install. So this is how I install stuff. And yeah, so I already have, bead setup. And yeah, the issue with beads is this thing. Look at the amount of stuff that exists here. There are like syncs with linear, Jira, whatever. There's a big surface area. What I like about Openspec is there's these 3 commands, right? These 3 entry points. This just seems like a lot, right? So there's this challenge. I also installed, so there's a few community tools here. I installed Beads UI, and I might also install like maybe this thing here, Beads Viewer. I want to be able to see some of this stuff. Let's just install this as well. I think this is using Go Releaser. Yeah, interesting. But yeah. Oh, lazy beats. This bubble tea. I like bubble tea. Yeah, there's a few stuff here, but this seems to be the most. So yeah, I'm gonna use beats, but I'm gonna do in a really unorthodox way. Okay, so actually, this experiment with beads became too big. So this is what I'm gonna be doing. I'm going to record another video of me exploring beads a little bit more in depth. So, but this is what happened. All right, I used open code, and I asked it to help me port all my Openspec stuff to beads, and then I had some conversation on how to structure that. But then I realized that now I had these beats issues, but it was missing an important thing, which was the orchestration to execute it. Like now I had the metadata of like, oh, these blocks this and blocks that. But yeah, the beats thing has a lot of like, it's confusing, the documentation. There is a plugin for Cloud Code, but then I don't know, it's really, really confusing. So it was not like an experience like, oh, yeah, this is what to do. This is the suggested workflow. It's just a bunch of ideas thrown together in a CLI with some. It's not great. It is interesting, and I had fun playing with it. But I don't think there is anything that. Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard for you to learn something from my experience. I I I I think that's why like Gastown exists, because Beats is an interesting, like, I think all of these are just like interesting ideas that that Steve is exploring, but it's kind of like a probably a mirror of his own like ideas and headed workflow. So it's hard to take value out of that. Like it's I don't think it's that productive. However, it is interesting. I managed to then after I realized that it was hard to take any value out of that, I asked it to say, hey, Dad, no, now I have these beads, but how do I actually run them? And I asked it to program a Ralph loop. And yeah, this is what there's some stuff going on here, but pretty much I asked it to run a Ralph loop. And then if I do like nvim, you can see my Ralph loop. It's a Ms task, but it's a really simple one. There's some stuff here that I asked it to throw in, but I didn't even know if I'm gonna hit it. But yeah, pretty much I run, I pass in the model and whatnot, and then I have this weird stuff running here, and then it just runs in a loop. And then I asked it to run, and then I asked it to create this Ralph prompt, which is is the stuff that's, hey, use beats, list the stuff in progress. Before check if there's something that it is in progress, but there's no PR open for this. Again, I just vibe coded the loop, which is a weird thing. Like I'm using, yeah. But then I asked it to run, and now if I look at the beads UI here, you can see there is stuff in progress here, right? And PRs are being open, and it's kind of like crazy. Now I have a lot of questions. Like, okay, I don't like the way this was done here, right? Like I would rather have like a SMTP URL, for example, right? Like it's a simpler variable. This ended up being like a lot of configs, right? So maybe we should just have a URL. But whatever. I think this is good, and I can just likely just I like this, then I merge, and then I proceed. Adding more stuff maybe. It's hard also because I lost my own workspace, which is something that Gastown have. So yeah, but I do have I do see the benefit of that, but I think just the issue tracking is just a small portion of the whole thing. The workflow, like this Rolf loop, is where the real engineering comes into play, and I think this takes a long time and a lot of play to be comfortable with it. And yeah, also I mean, currently I have no idea what's going on. This could be nuking my whole computer, or leaking my credentials. Also, I realized that my current setup requires. Oh, look! It finished another PR as I was recording. I think where is the PR? Yeah, here is it. Oh, something failed. I don't know what happened. Yeah, you see, like it's not perfect, right? It's generated by Ralph loop. I love this. I love this. Okay. Yeah. So again, this just broke. So that's the thing, right? Like now Beats can understand what is the next stuff, and I have this Ralph loop script here, and I think this is where I want to end this video. Right? Is that you can use you can now you have a lot of tools to craft this loop, and again, it's going to require a lot of engineering to get the things right. Like for example, I need to understand what I need to do with my credentials. Like my Git stuff is stored in one password and whatnot. So yeah, I need to maybe you should use some isolated VMs like Sprites or Docker Sandbox or something. There's a lot of like machinery that I need to put to do this kind of things, but it's kind of wild, right? Like I just asked it to do, and then it was doing a lot of like opening PRs in the background. I think this kind of actually an interesting thing. So it managed to stack the PRs, so I can come here and I can merge. CI passed. So yeah, let's just merge this, right? Squash and merge, squash and merge. Now this one should be updated to that, and then I just squash and merge as well. But yeah, so this is the interesting thing, right? I think now there are these tools, but we need to craft our own workflows. There are people trying to do this thing. I think like companies, there are people trying to do this more for companies and for production usage. I forgot the name, but which integrates with your linear stuff, then picks stuff automatically. So there are people like productizing this idea. But yeah, but I guess you can try to hack this thing, this machine that is this AI stuff yourself, and then I think there's a lot of fun into that. But what I'll do, I will probably move my recording of doing this experiment with beats to another like video, because otherwise this would be too long. And I will also record another video exploring Gas Town, which is okay. Let's try to get Steve Yegge's on workflow and tool and use it, because one of the things that I saw is that there's a lot of like these projects like Beads and Gas Town. I have this feeling they're kind of like merging into one big thing, because there are stuff like this thing like called gates in Beads that seem to have been developed just for Gas Town. So it's kind of like it's hard. The surface area is too big, and that is why I think it's complicated. But I think I should give it a try on Gas Town just to see how that goes. But I think right now what I would likely do more is either Conductor or Vibe Kanban, which are like, I think are simpler to reason about stuff. And I think for now I'll still be mostly manually delegating tasks until I have the confidence that these things are interesting and I sort out all the sandboxing issues and whatnot. But this was an interesting experiment. Subscribe if you want to check the Beads video and then the Gas Sound video. I'm gonna try to record this next week, which is gonna be this week when this video come out. But yeah, this was a fun experiment. I think we are again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we are in this inflection point where we are experimenting with new ways of working. We're fundamentally changing the workflow. In the beginning, AI was adapted to our own existing workflows with code completion. Then we started like shifting. Now we are asking agents to do stuff and then just reviewing in the end. But I think now we are in the point where we will need to rethink the whole orchestration layer and organization. We're going to start scaling code production like 24. Like the beautiful thing about software is that you write software, deploy, and then it runs technically 24/7. Now we're going to have the code generation machinery running 24/7, right? Like people might be on call to fix the running agents, right? Like that's the new machine that is running. It's the machine that creates the code, like the system that creates the systems. So this meta system I think is going to be what the work will be about in the next few years. I think people are still going to be slow to adopt, especially these more radical ideas. But I think we're going to start seeing these a lot in like startups and smaller companies, like just doing a lot of software, right? I think 2026 is going to be crazy. I'm excited for it, and it's just January, and we already have a lot to unpack. So sorry, this is a confusing video. That was the idea of this video. I had no proper script. I hope you liked it. Maybe you took something out of it, and if you did, I am happy. If you have any comments or you just want to, I don't know, put something out there or discuss, use the comment section below, because I think there's a lot of value on discussing ideas and learning together. I think, yeah, this video shows how fragile and unexperienced I am, and I think we all are, right? Like these things are new. Everybody's experimenting with it, but nobody has the answers. So I think the best we can do is to have conversations about it. So yeah, again, thanks so much for watching. Sorry about this confusing video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Let's discuss ideas and yeah, give me suggestions on things to explore. But so far, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.